Call this meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Julie, roll call, please.
Mayor Coleman,
Present.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Present.
Councilor Thorstad,
Here.
Councilor Richards,
Here.
Councilor Gorley,
Here.
Councilor Trask,
Here.
Councilor Sanchez.
Here. We have 7 present and no absent. Julie, would you please read the online meeting rules?
Who is joining us. For members of the public who would like to participate in this meeting, we have some instructions to help you if you are new to using Microsoft Teams. Notice the icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. The second one from the left is a chat bubble icon. If you wish to be recognized by the mayor to speak, please choose the bubble icon to enter into the meeting chat. It will appear on the right-hand side of your screen. First, enter your name, address, and phone number in the chat, followed by the topic you wish to discuss. If you wish to speak at any point during the meeting, you can choose the hand icon, also located in the upper right-hand corner. It is the equivalent of raising your hand. Then the mayor, acting chairperson, or moderator will ask you to speak in the appropriate time. We'll give everyone a few moments now to enter their name, address, phone number, and topic they would like to address with the council in the meeting chat. We will ask in the interest of time that people not repeat a previous speaker. Instead, state you agree with their point or disagree with their point. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Any extension of that time is at the sole discretion of the mayor or meeting chairperson per the council rules. The moderator will note these joining by phone for the mayor or chairperson. The fact that the meeting is online does not excuse poor behavior. The mayor retains the right to have people removed from the meeting as stated in the council rules.
Thank you, Julie. Moving on, consent agenda. Councilors, please note that there are a number of items under the consent agenda. If you would like one removed and put under new business, please let me know now. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Julie, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Richards,
Yes.
Councilor Gorley,
Yes.
Councilor Trask,
Yes.
Councilor Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Yes.
Councilor Thorstad.
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and no nays. Moving on, recognition of visitors and hearing of petitions. We have somebody in the audience who would like to come forward. Robert, would you like to come forward now? Remember to state your name and your address. And
I'm Robert Egner. I live at 28628 Ridgeway Road. I'm here to address concerns with the recent firearms issue in the Foster area or rounds of wind into a school. I understand that mental illness and at times releases of information are sometimes skated around. I understand that at times people feel the need to be politically correct, or even feel regulated or even be regulated on what information is released, like names, type of illness, exact location, etc. Now I need to ensure that it is understood that waiting 6+ days to release information to the community that lab rounds went into one of our schools in our community is unacceptable. It is in the best interest of this community, the safety of our children, the well-being of those in the area, etc., for them to know that such a serious issue happened. It is not acceptable, nor the right of any city official, police chief, mayor, city manager, or any other leading member or elected body or member of, etc., to keep any of this information from the parents of this community. It is a job and inalienable right of the parents to have the ability to make the decisions for our children while at school functions, and if need be, remove our children from schools or events or even the immediate neighborhood, or not allow our children to go into those neighborhoods. This type of communication discrepancy will not be tolerated in the future. I'll personally ensure I mobilize parents, community members, rights groups, my own trained groups, of which I'm heavily active, as needed, to wake up the powers that be at every council meeting, at police stations, at the school board meetings, or any other necessary venue to the fact that this isn't simply a request, but rather a guarantee that this is not going to be tolerated in the future. That's all I've got.
Thank you for coming forward, Robert. Moving on to the item on the agenda is communication regarding the police involvement in schools. Go ahead, City Manager Young.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for bringing forward your concern. I have, and so has Chief Ogden, both of us have been speaking with multiple parents and multiple community members today about this particular issue and incident. I want to thank all of the parents who came forward and discussed it, and I appreciate all of the ideas that they brought forward as well. We have taken them all to heart, and Chief Ogden and Captain Cummings and myself have all been communicating a great deal today. Being a parent to a child at foster school, I can absolutely empathize with everybody regarding this incident, and we do feel that communication could definitely be improved here. So I won't go into the specifics of the incident. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Ogden to do that in just a moment. But I did want to share that moving forward, as of today, Chief Ogden, Captain Cummings, and I are implementing a communication plan regarding incidents involving schools. And these items will be communicated as soon as possible to the public, as soon as it is safe for us to do so. We do understand that parents need to be informed and about any incidents that may impact the safety of their children, and they need to be informed in order to make decisions about where their children are going to school and what activities they're going to be involved in. I also, though, want to commend the officers that were involved in this incident. Their actions regarding the incident themselves ensured that no one was hurt, that no children were harmed. The individual who was involved in this incident was not harmed. They acted very, very quickly. They followed all of the procedures, and they have been continuing to follow up. As far as communication is concerned, moving forward, we will make sure to inform the community when something like this occurs. But our officers are working very hard on ensuring the safety of our children and our schools, and they have my sincere thanks. And so I want to turn it over to you. But before I do so, I want to thank you, Captain Cummings, and you, Chief Ogden, for everything that you have been doing to ensure the safety. And then please, I know you have some items that you want to discuss as well.
Sure. I appreciate you sharing your concern. I'm taking it to heart and want to apologize. We did drop the ball on communication for sure. And wanted to extend that apology to you and to the public and to City Council. But I wanted to kind of give you just an overview of what we responded to. It was on Sunday, March 19th, that there was an officer that was on patrol in the area of Foster School and heard a loud noise, which he later made the connection to be a gunshot, and what the person who made the shot had communicated to him later after he was taken into protective custody. But anyway, he was in the area, heard a noise, investigated it, couldn't figure out where it came from. And then we had a call about 2 hours later that same day from a concerned neighbor in the area saying that there was somebody at 5400 Quince Street that was having some sort of mental health crisis breakdown, and that there was possibly a firearm involved. We get there. We ended up taking this person into protective custody. We didn't have any crimes that we knew about at that time. After he was taken into protective custody, we had learned, I believe it was en route to the hospital, that this person told the officer that, hey, when you were driving by earlier, I shot two rounds into the ground. It's like, okay, that makes sense. He recalled it, hearing that earlier. Once we had learned that, and being obviously so close to the school, we contacted the DA's office, and this is the first time we've ever done this for our agency, but we applied for an extreme risk protection order. And with that, we're able to, if we can articulate the details and the information, that there's a safety to the community or to somebody, the person that owns the firearms, we can go in and take those firearms out of their house if a judge signs off on it and feels that, it's legit. So we did do that. We did apply for that. It was granted. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that, we were doing this legally and properly. So we also, at the same time, we just didn't go into the house and take the guns. Even though this person gave us permission to do that, we applied for a search warrant a few days later on the 24th after the order was granted. And it was during the time that we were in the house getting the firearms that, looking around, noticed that there were some holes in the glass of the window. And we're like, did this guy shoot out the window? And so the investigation showed that, yeah, he did. And so there were some holes in the side of the school, Foster Elementary. So at that point, we let the DA's office know this is what we have now. We let mental health know this is what we have now. And so they ended up holding him. So we've been in communication with the DA's office because at this point, we do have what appears to be criminal charges. This subject is still on a mental health hold in custody that way. The DA's office has, they've got the report with them, and they're aware of it and have been sitting on it, and they're just waiting to kind of see what happens with the whole mental health process. So again, as things began exploding on Facebook, in hindsight, we're like, oh yeah, we should have definitely communicated this. And so extend an apology, but at the same time, just want to say that, yeah, we're doing everything we can to make sure that, the school's going to be safe. And we want to notify the public if this person gets back out of the mental health hold or back out of jail. We want the public to be aware of that and the school to be aware of that. And we will be communicating with them about that. So.
Thank you, Chief, for that report. Any questions of counselors?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
So I just am curious, what are we capable of doing to ensure that this person will not have access to firearms in the future and to ease fears of the parents of the students and the staff at that school? I just want to remind everybody that in 1994, Sweet Home had a school shooting, and I was inside the classroom when the kid was shot in Mr. Horn's room. So it's a little bit of a triggering moment.
Yeah.
And I just am really concerned about our kids because the last meeting we gave a moment of silence for another community that lost children. And I want to make sure that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, and I do too. I think the strongest thing that we have going right now is that emergency response protection order. They will not be able to have possession of firearms. I believe, if I understand it correctly, up to a year, and we might have to apply for that again, but that may not even be an issue if this goes to court criminally. And if this person is, potentially convicted as a felon, they wouldn't be able to own or possess firearms.
I just want to add a couple items too that Chief Ogden and I have been discussing today. One, we're looking at increasing officer presence at some of the schools. As once we have our, the school
Resource officer
on taking rounds at all of the schools. We also, as Chief mentioned before, we are going to be notified when this individual is being released. We're already working with the county and potential other services on making sure that it's being monitored and that we are aware and can adjust to the situation as necessary. So this is something that we are taking extremely seriously. I absolutely recognize that this is a sensitive issue, and it is for me personally as well. And this is something that we're going to be continuing to discuss and continuing to ensure. As I mentioned, my child is at foster as well, so it definitely always hits home. And Sweet Home is very, very protective of its children, and we have a strong set of officers, and we are going to be doing everything that we can to ensure the safety of our children.
Thank you. Any other questions of counselors?
Madam Mayor, I just have
Yes.
a comment, or a question, actually. So was he the only one in that building, in the house?
Yes.
Okay, so there was nobody there that could have stopped him from doing that at that point. Okay.
Not that we're aware of. Yeah.
I remember the 1994. It was scary. I wasn't in school. I was still in, yeah, anyway, but yeah, we need to get our resource guy again. We need a person. We need to get one back there as soon as possible. However,
I agree.
most of the problem that he had, that our former had, he was not at the middle schools, I mean, the grade schools that often, because the most of the stuff that I understood was that the problems were most in the high school or maybe the junior high school. That's what I heard. This is not very good. This is not very good. And I firmly believe that all those doors in every school that we have should be locked down. And they should not be able to come in. If it's me or you or whoever, it should not be open until they come and let you in, period. And I think that should be what by the basketball court, when there's a room that comes in there, I mean, a door, and that should be held closed until, even if they're moving from one end to the other, and they don't make that door, I personally think that they should have to go all the way around the school and come in the front door. That's what I think could help. That's my opinion. So
Counselor, yes.
I'll have a question. Chief, I know that our police chief and our police officers and our city manager are doing an excellent job trying to secure the safety of our students. I take it to heart because I have kids, grandkids that are going through the process too. I was actually on the medic unit on 1994 shooting. So that definitely sits home with me. The bottom line is that we have to have, like the Councilor Sanchez and Councilor Trask talked about, we have to have the highest standards and maintain them.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from counselors? Okay. Thank you. Moving on. We are going to have a presentation from the Chamber of Commerce. Yes.
Okay. Thanks. It's my turn to do that. Hello. Thank you, Madam Mayor, counselors. It's good to be with you today. This is my triannual report. Oh, Executive Director Legia Mull, 1575 Main Street. That's the only address you're getting. Okay, so I'll go through this real quick. It's for those of you that don't know, I love nerd stuff. I love facts. So this was kind of fun for me. All right. But so the first, I'm supposed to be doing this. Like, why are you there, Adam? Okay. All right. So one of the things we differentiate, we run, for those of you in the audience or for new city councilors, we run the visitor center for the city of Sweet Home. So we handle chamber business, but we also have the visitor center. So I'm going to report on those numbers. So in the time period, so we're going December of 2022 to March of 2023, we had 24 visitors. That was tourist related, because it's not that time of year when we're going to have an uptick. So it really was mostly chamber business that happened. So that is something super exciting there. As far as phone calls, there was a lot of business was happening. We got a lot of phone calls. One of the most popular ones, notaries, fun fact.
But also during that time period, because we had all the holiday craft fairs going on, that we were trying to share that information because if you didn't know, our website, one of the things that our chamber members can do is add events to our website on our calendar. So it's very popular during that time of year to have craft fairs listed, which we have a lot of phone calls about those too. So, and the opening of the new Taco Bell, that was a big deal. That is a big deal to Sweet Home. So people wanted to know, of course, we had questions about the homeless facility coming up, yard cards. So those were all key things. And we actually have already gotten phone calls about the Jamboree. So I was surprised when it's like raining and snowing and someone's calling me about the Jamboree. And I'm like, okay, good times. So, and Sportsman Holiday. So those are the big things that were calls. So 29 calls about touristy things. You know, the rest is mostly chamber, which we would consider chamber business if they're asking questions about local businesses and whatnot. That's what I'm referring to. So 257. So the next one, I finally found where this was at. So I was super excited about that. But this is, you probably can't see, it's kind of tiny. Sorry, my apologies. This is the website hits. So the biggest one is over 1,600 hits, and that's just on our web page. That's like the main page that in this time period, over 1,656. And then calendars. This is why it's so important for people to have, for our members, for our community to have their events on our calendar, because that's our biggest thing. That's what people are looking for. They want to know what's going on in town. So we had just searching the calendar was 1,461, and then just being on the calendar, 517. So then this fun touristy part, rock hounding. Rock hounding was 497. Those rock nerds are all over that website. Okay, so those are the big stats there. So, and I did speak with at the Sweet Home Rock and Mineral Show. Hopefully you are all able to attend that. I was working with them on, if you didn't know, they actually meet in Lebanon. So I was like, hey guys, come on back to Sweet Home and have your Sweet Home Rock and Mineral Society meetings in Sweet Home. That'd be super cool. So we're trying to help with that. And I shared with them that rock hounding is our biggest thing. So we would love to get more information from them to add to our website, because we have so many unique rocks that we can find in our area. So that is the big. Well, sorry. I also love to spread papers everywhere. So, all right. The next one, our biggest item for tourist parts, because that's really what I'm reporting on with you all. If you just, the one that was super popular was, hey, Taco Bell's going to open. People were so excited about that. I think even the people that don't like Taco Bell were excited about that. But for tourist parts, it was the parade. The Christmas parade, that was the big thing. People wanted to see the route. They wanted to know, where they can camp out. So that was a big thing. And during this time period, we've had 164 new Facebook followers. So any way that we can increase that is always a good thing. Yeah, our biggest thing that we worked on were the Christmas events. I mean, because it's winter, and then the annual banquet. And I just wanted to thank each of the counselors that made it a priority to attend our banquet. We really appreciate you being there. I think we can agree that it was a fun time, that it was a great event. So we appreciate it. We only really sent out one tourism packet, Wairika, California. I was surprised by that. Now, our biggest, so number 6 is giving samples of advertising efforts for the chamber. Well, our biggest one this time of the year is the production of the visitor's guide. So we do that in partnership with the New Era. We send them content, or we help update content that they have, and then we give them our lists. So that is a big deal, because that goes around our area, our entire area. So a recap of some of our achievements. We added a new chamber board of directors. Vance Monroe, he's with Radiator Supply House. He's been a great asset. Then we also, I was appointed to the Lynn Economic Development Group Board of Directors. So I've been to a couple of their meetings so far in Albany. It's the Albany Millersburg Economic Company or Corp. They're being morphed into the Lynn Economic Development Group. So it's great because they're finding out where the other cities are saying we're out of land. And I get to sit in those meetings and say, we've got a bunch. And they were stunned at the amount of acreage we have in Sweet Home for industry. So the fact that I can be a voice for Sweet Home, that has been a huge part. That's been an exciting thing. So then the other thing is, as of today, so this isn't a December to March. I got excited with this part and I just went ahead and went with current as of today's membership. Membership is up by 35%, and with a new member joining today, like I'll have people join the chamber. Like I had 2 last Thursday, like I had to change my stats for my board meeting. So that's kind of fun. But the reason I'm so excited about this one that joined today, the Twisted Carrot Homestead, she is opening up a shop in downtown Sweet Home, right next to Beauty 101. Her name is Jessica Patterson. Some people might know her in this room. Yeah. So, but it's super exciting because she's wanted to own a business since she was in the 5th grade. She told me this. She was a part of FAA and she was always doing the business side of things. And it's just exciting. The majority of the items in her shop are things that she makes, or it's her own honey or from her little homestead. And it's just exciting. So the only thing that might put a crinkle in the ribbon cutting, and I'll be putting out a press release on that, is ODOT and a sidewalk. Those guys, excuse me. So anyways, we love ODOT, but that might delay her grand opening. So, but please watch our social media and watch that. But that's exciting that we have membership increasing all the time. That's fun.
So are you gonna wait till like 24 before we do that?
What on her? No. We'll make it happen. I'll go and encourage them if need be. So, okay. So the next things that are coming up that I feel like are tourism related, that Rabbit Run, I'm working in partnership with the city staff to help with the Rabbit Run. We're hosting the registration part on our website just because it's not as cumbersome as the city website. And I can say that because I used to work on the city website, right? So I'm allowed. Also, the community-wide yard sales, that should say sales, because we're going to do, I believe 4. Yes, May, June, July, and August. We're going to do it so people can sign up through us. Sorry. And then I'll publish a map, and then people can pick up a copy of the map either at the chamber office, at City Hall, or, if for all the locals know that garage sale board at 18th and Long, I'll put a bunch there too, and then post it on our social media as well. So I'll have those published the Fridays before the sales. So then Sportsman Holiday we've got lots of plans going, but the biggest thing is the Cut the Gut Cruise. We're so excited. That's going to be Friday night, July 7th. From 6 to 9. Registration is already open. I had that ready to go a while ago. So people can buy their passports already. And then this morning, I know I just fussed about ODOT, but I have to say some nice things about ODOT because their parade permit person, where it says that it's supposed to take 30 days, she approved my parade permit for the Sportsman Holiday Parade in 2 days. So she's my new favorite person. So that as of this afternoon, that's been approved. So we'll have registration is live on our website as well. So people can sign up to be a part of the Sportsman Holiday Parade again. So any questions?
No question, Legia, but you're probably not hearing it enough, but I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. A little tenuous starting a new career, so.
Any other questions of counselors? Thank you so much for coming and presenting your report. We appreciate that. Next item on the agenda, FAC is going to do a presentation as well. Thank you, Brock. Feel free to share your name and your address as well. Thank you.
Brock Byers, 1450 24th Avenue. So welcome. Thank you for allowing me to participate today and giving an update on the shelter and sheltering activities. Believe it or not, it's a 100-day update as of yesterday. So we're pretty excited about that. Forget I'm controlling this thing. Oh, next slide. First thing, this slide kind of illustrates all of the people and groups that have been involved, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but I definitely wanted to highlight. And what's sad is you see the symbol for Sweet Home, the city of Sweet Home, and what it doesn't represent is we had incredible work and effort done by the council members, the subcommittees, the mayor, the city managers and public works, the police chief himself. I can't say enough, but thank you. This wouldn't absolutely have occurred without your contributions, your help. Lynn County's been instrumental in providing us the land and the property, and that was a big deal. And then Weyerhaeuser with our donations of building the huts. Let's see, the other one. Oh boy, it's another Sweet Home group.
It's the chamber.
Oh, the chamber, of course. Okay. And the high school for building the huts. And I cannot say enough thanks. They are remarkable and amazing. And it was a massive undertaking, and it was a great community involvement activity and such. The other symbol I have is the city of Sweet Home. I mean, we had so many of the community members, volunteers, and people come out and support us, and that it has been very generous, very helpful. And for being, believe it or not, one of the most conservative communities in Oregon, we are the most progressive, I believe, in addressing homelessness in this community, at least one aspect of it. And I know that there are undertaking and efforts being done to address homelessness in many ways. And I applaud you guys because you're doing things that no other community is doing. Intercommunity Health Network, I put them on there. That's where we get the majority of our funding. It is through that dynamic. So we don't get a lot of federal funding. It is primarily through that group and through donations and so on and so forth. Just a little bit of everybody on there. Take a look, support these groups, support these folks. I have Bombas on there. Believe it or not, the average homeless person goes through 7 pairs of shoes a year, and Bombas has been with us since day one. They donate socks, and believe it or not, we're probably donating more socks than anybody. We donate anywhere between 2,000 and 5,000 pairs a year, and we give it to other groups and community and all kinds of environments so that we can get people can have clean, dry feet, hopefully. And they've continued up helping us out, and they upped their donation. We're getting 10 cases this year, so we're going to have a storage issue, but they are a massive supporter of us from the beginning. And I don't know if people know it. They're out of, I believe, New York, and these socks are high performance socks. They go for $15 a pair, so it's a very substantial donation for us. Let me see here. Next slide. So on to shelter statistics, and I think this is what people are kind of interested in. I'll just note a few things. We're about 60-40 male to female. We are Lynn County's first and only low barrier shelter. I think we're their only low barrier shelter where we allow men, women, pets, things like that. Probably the thing to note is the median age. This is an older community. We are seeing a growth in this area. So our average age is about 49 right now. Well, just ethnicity, you can see we're kind of unique also in that we have a very broad group of ethnicity in our facility. Some shelters don't have quite the range that we do, and we actually have a very broad range. What's also not noted here, we also have 2 deaf individuals at our facility, and that brings on all kinds of interesting circumstances around deaf. So far this year, we've had a total at our 100-day mark of 1,735 bed nights. We measure in bed nights because we have clients that are there and not there. So we do that. But if you look, March, April, 1,075. So you can see we're growing in capacity. I do have an occupancy slide to the left there that shows we were running at about 75% occupancy. This month we did hit over 100% occupancy. And you go, how do you hit over 100%? We allow double occupancy in some of the huts. So we allow partners to be in huts. Total meals. And then I want to highlight a little bit the work of Manna. Again, this is the community food kitchen. They do incredible work. They do meals on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We're going to work with them to see if we can, do it 5 days a week, but they provide roughly 30 meals a day or 90 meals a week for us. And they continue to do that for us. We do provide additional meals. We provide meals on the weekends. We provide meals on the days that we don't work with them. So we are serving a lot of meals there. Showers. Originally, we were sending folks to the Nazarene Church until we could get our shower operational. Now that our shower's operational, we have a sign up and clients can pretty much take showers anytime between 8 in the morning and 8 in the evening and go through a sign up. Laundry, 45 loads a week. That is a lot of laundry. And if you times that over 14, I guess we've been in business for about 14 weeks. That is almost $1,000 worth of laundry that we currently do and fund. This does not fully include client laundry. This is just internal laundry, blanket sheets. And then we do work with our clients also on their laundry and doing stuff there. Bus tickets, we do give out bus tickets. And you can see it continues to climb as we're helping individuals understand public transportation and utilize public transportation. And it's we're seeing that number grow. Transition, 6 people. 6 people already, and that's pretty remarkable. But believe it or not, it's not necessarily through our efforts. It's through our partners' efforts. It's through our clients' efforts. We have a client that we've recently, he put him on our payroll that he found housing and he's helping others find housing. So it's that I've learned how to do it. Now I'm giving back and it's pretty remarkable. So it's fun to see such early success. We didn't at all plan to have 6 so soon. A little bit more on our statistics. As you can see there, we have a fairly high number. Overall, about 44% of our clients are victims of domestic violence. And then when you look at the disabilities, we have, severe learning disabilities and disabilities, mental illness, and alcohol and drug addiction. And those run a pretty high percentage of 40, 34, and 48%. So almost half of our folks have some sort of substance use disorder. And so this type of solution in a town like this provides a first response, first getting people out of the doorways of the business, getting them off the streets, getting them to services, getting them comfortable with moving forward with life skills, because it's very difficult to take someone straight out of a doorway, throw them into housing and have them be successful. So we think this is a great model for helping people become more successful in housing. Veterans, unfortunately, this number is still pretty high for us. And our plan and intent is to work closer with them to get them into housing or solutions a little quicker. But we run between 12 and for this month, March and April, we're running at about 15, almost 16% veterans. And then down below, I wanted to present a little bit about, well, they just need to go out and work. Well, if you kind of look here, 60% of our clients are on Social Security or Social Security disability, which means they really can't work. So that only leaves us about that 40% that we're certainly working on job training. We have individuals that are at the shelter that actually have jobs and are using that as a gap until they can acquire their housing and such. But we're working hard to, for those working with job programs and jobs to get them jobs, but we have quite a few clients that just simply can't work. Again, I'm controlling that. One of the issues that was brought up early on is, this is a Sweet Home solution for Sweet Home residents. And really that first slide is where have you lived in the last 12 months? And while legally we cannot turn away people, we're offering a solution for individuals. But what this does illustrate is that the majority of our clients are in fact from Sweet Home. We do have a couple, and some of those clients, like the California one, it's interesting to see how are they coming in. Usually they almost with all of them so far have family here or have other interests with Sweet Home. So they are from here essentially, or have at least tight linkages to here. Time in town. There is a couple there that are less than a month. They're from, various situations and areas. But again, most of our folks have been here for 24 plus months. So they are, long-term residents and so on and so forth. And then this is kind of my last slide, and I was able to get some call information from our police department, and Chief Ogden can also, offer any idea here as well. But we've been able to, I think, have a very positive effect on these three areas. For police calls, you can definitely see they've gone down. I was going to even, and you can see the seriousness of the number of calls, and it's not just a number. Remember, this is typically 1 to 2 police officers that are going out to respond. It's taking time away from other duties. So we feel like we're hopefully being good stewards. And typically the calls that we do, most of those 13 calls are actually from us to the police department to get some help. So if I look at those 13 calls, 5 were for property and property safekeeping. When you have an individual come to the shelter that is in need of sheltering and has a handgun, we work with the police department to secure that handgun with the police department. So we make other calls besides issue calls. We did have a suspicious circumstance. We had an individual that was hassling the facility, at night, and we couldn't figure out. They did an investigation on that. We didn't find anybody, but the situation stopped. We had 3 public assists where they came out to help us with situations of, helping coax an individual out of a bathroom, or, help us with some of the medical emergencies that we might have with mental illness or things like that. And they'd come out and help. A couple of welfare checks. So these are people asking the police department to come out and check on some of the individuals that are there. And then we had 2 information calls and such. I can't thank them enough. They're a great partner. I think we're definitely seeing some declines there. On the fire and medical emergencies, the first month was a little bit dramatic for us all. We were learning. It was also learning with them. So I don't know what the calls are now. I have heard they have gone down a little bit. The calls that are there are valid calls, usually medical emergencies or where we need folks, really we need transport and help for individuals. And what I've heard from the fire and medical department is they're extremely happy to come, because when they come to a known environment. It's a safe environment. It's not out in the middle where they're uncertain So they may not have to also call a police presence. We typically have information, so we log information on each of the individuals. And so we can hand them a sheet so they know immediately their age, their name, any medications they may be allergic to, things like that. And so again, hopefully the calls will go down. The calls that are there are usually, they're medical important calls. And then finally, the public works. I can't speak for Greg. I've seen a decline in some of the areas that needed cleaning and some of the messes that were out there. We've had individuals that have to perform community service that we work with, and we have, believe it or not, they just love volunteering. Some of the individuals need things to do. So we have people out picking up trash. They're picking it up in the areas near us, between our site and Bimart. We did put a notice out when we had the day of cleanup. Hopefully some of our folks are out there. They want to participate. They want to be active members in the community and stuff. So hopefully we've seen fewer need for our, public works folks going out and just cleaning garbage and cleaning up the messes of our homeless folks and stuff. And really, pretty much in closing, we have hired two new peer counselors. These are individuals that can assist our individuals with substance use disorders and such. We do have an active requisition for behavioral health specialists. Mental health is a big issue for us there. I would say about 15%, 10 to 15% of our clients have serious mental health issues. So that's always helpful. And I think that was about all I had. Just first, we're the first low barrier shelter in Lynn County. We actually have a shelter with a nurse and a doctor that will come to the site. So they go to the folks. Sean was able to help coordinate a veterinarian to come out because we do allow pets. We're the only shelter that allows pets. And the veterinarian was able to come out, do some shots, do some checks. And we're keeping that one kind of secret because all the shelters are just going, how do we get a vet? How do we get a vet? And we've been, again, it's one of your very gracious community members volunteering and helping us out. So again, thank you so much. And I'll open it up to questions and yeah, you go from there.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to thank Brock and Shirley for the work they're doing in our community. I don't think it's really known that these individuals that put in so much of their lives are not being compensated for that work. They are really outstanding. We're very fortunate to have that, and we're truly blessed. I also want to make a note that sometimes counselors get put on committees and they don't get to share those. They don't get accolades for that. And they don't get to share a lot of those experiences while they're up here on the dais. And Counselor Sanchez is on that committee that represents the community. And she represents us there and she's doing a good job.
Yes.
I'd also like to thank our city manager and our mayor that when the county did organize and started the committee to address these issues, I was able to get on the first of the calls that I was aware of. And our city manager was there, our mayor was there, and the people on the call, the experts in their fields in our county were very aware of what was going on here. And they were very interested in talking to Brock and very interested in doing what we are doing here for their communities. And I'm a little snot bag once in a while. And so when I drive through their towns and I see tents and stuff, because we really are taking care of our brothers and sisters. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Councilor Crawley. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So I just also want to say thank you to Brock and Shirley for all that you've invested into our community. It's beautiful out there and what you're doing for the residents. I'm really appreciative of it, even though I was the biggest adversary. I just I'm really thankful for what you guys are doing. I also want to ask you a question, Brock.
Absolutely.
You've given us fantastic statistics early on, but I just want you to give a little update of how many people are still waiting. Are you turning away a lot of people? What type of issues do we still have that we're working to address? That type of stuff.
Yeah, so we're down to, we have one hut left to construct. We have one handicap hut left to construct. Originally, we were going to modify one of these, and it's just simply what we heard from a Walla Walla solution is they just said, yeah, it didn't work so well. It took them 3 years to get a handicap hut. We're going to do it here in a couple of months, but we're already in the design. It's going to be basically a double size type hut or another situation. We're also focused on micro shelters. So we're working with Kelsey. There's some funding out there possibly available. And we're still only addressing one small component. We are an emergency shelter. We're hoping to get the micro shelters to then transition individuals that then can take on additional responsibilities. These micro shelters have heating, cooling, and power. And we're going to allow more autonomy, more responsibility. And so it shows building life skills, building a progression, helping individuals be successful so that we don't take an individual that just isn't ready, throw them into a house and then have a failure again. And then we watch the big ball, spin again. And so we think we have some good solutions there. Finally, we're running at capacity. We do have a wait list for pets of about 15. And then we have a wait list of about 20 individuals that don't have pets. And it's an interesting dynamic around that because of the pet ones, I would say half that, we don't have real contact information. So they're individuals that are still homeless, don't have phones. They come in and contact us from time to time. If we have a shelter for them, they would get it. But we just keep going right up down to the top of the list, and we just keep cranking down until we fill the area. Our pet area has been filled since the beginning. The other area, again, it's just getting people in, and then people leave for various reasons. They go to other communities, they go to services, they go to rehabilitation. So we're encouraged by that, but we still have a wait list, unfortunately, which is the sad part. And this doesn't, one of, I guess, where I'm excited a little bit is in the conversation. So just because we have our emergency shelter up, the conversations have not stopped. The health committee still meets. Kelsey's, one of her big agenda items is addressing families and our elderly and some of that. So I'm especially excited about where we're going to go in the future as well.
Any other questions of counselors? Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Brock and Shirley, for all the work that you're doing. And thank you for sticking with the City of Sweet Home. I know it was a rocky beginning, but we are grateful that you stuck with it and that we are able to do this service for our community members. I know that it's been seen as progressive in many ways, but we just are glad to see people being taken care of in a healthy, responsible way. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. I have 2 proclamations. One of them is very fitting for right now. Mental Health Awareness Proclamation 2023. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas promotion and prevention are effective ways to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong body of research that support user-friendly tools that all Americans can access to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead lead full, productive lives. And whereas each business, school, government agency, faith-based organization, healthcare provider, veterans groups, and citizen has a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. And whereas Lynn County, as well as the nation as a whole, is finally returning to normal after an infectious disease outbreak, it is important to remember that feeling anxious, confused, overwhelmed, or powerless remain as common problems and are quite normal. By limiting media consumption, staying connected with loved ones, and staying active, we can maintain our mental health as we try to protect our physical health. And whereas the Lynn County Mental Health Advisory Board is emphasizing that there is no health without mental health by being involved with public service announcements, health fairs, public speakers, and various trainings regarding mental health issues. Therefore, I, Mayor Susan Coleman, do hereby proclaim May 2023 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Sweet Home. As the mayor, I also call upon the citizens, governmental agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Sweet Home to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Proclaimed this 25th day of April 2023. Moving on to the next proclamation. By the mayor of the city of Sweet Home, a proclamation for a day of prayer. Whereas throughout history, Americans have lifted up fervent prayers to God on behalf of our nation. From the first gatherings of our founding fathers, elected officials have prayed and entreated those they serve and represent to join them in prayer. Including the authors of our Declaration of Independence, wrote that they, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world, and carried on to present day in presidential proclamations, such as last year's invitation to join him in asking for God's continued guidance, mercy, and protection. And whereas a National Day of Prayer has not only been a part of our heritage since it was declared by the First Continental Congress in 1775, but it is a public law established in the United States Congress in 1952, approved by a joint resolution, and amended by Congress and President Reagan with Public Law 100-307 in 1988, affirming that it is essential for us as a nation to pray, and directing the President of the United States to set aside and proclaim the first Thursday of May annually as a National Day of Prayer. And whereas in our state and across America, the observance of the National Day of Prayer will be held on Thursday, May 4th, 2023. And whereas every first Thursday of May, on the National Day of Prayer, we not only express our faith and exercise our freedom in prayer, but unite our hearts and voices in personal prayer and public gatherings throughout our city and across our America with fervent praise, repentance, love, and humble intercession for our neighbor and nation, holding fast to the promises through the Holy Scriptures that Lord hears and helps those who call on him. Now, therefore, I, Susan Coleman, Mayor of the City of Sweet Home, do hereby proclaim May 4th, 2023 as a day of prayer throughout the City of Sweet Home, and I commend this observance to all of our citizens, dated this 25th day of April 2023. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, request for council action.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. So on April 11th, the council met with city staff and we discussed our goal setting for the next upcoming fiscal year. And I want to thank the council for your time and effort spent in that goal setting workshop too. I think it was a very productive workshop and allowed us to determine what our priorities are for the next year and to identify a certain number of projects that staff will try to carry out over the next year. After adoption of these goals and projects, staff is going to work on a work plan, and we've actually already been working on a tentative work plan in anticipation of adoption of the goals. And we are also going to be then presenting these goals and projects on a dashboard to the community and sharing the progress so that the community is aware of how each project is progressing and is available, and we'll be available to answer any questions. So again, I want to thank you. The goals are all listed in your packet. If you would like me to read any of them, please let me know. Both the vision statement and the mission statement stayed the same. And the basic goals also stayed the same, with the change being the identification of projects that will be completed, or at least a portion of them will be completed over the next year. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions of counselors? I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Julie, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes, we have 7 ayes and no nays. Moving forward to the next item on the agenda is a public hearing legislative amendment. I will open up this public hearing at 7:30 p.m. First thing on this is to our declarations. I need to know if there's any declaration by members of the council of bias, conflict of interest, or ex parte communication. Starting with you, Councilor Gorley.
No.
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 Nope.
Okay, moving on. We have the staff report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. For the last year or so, this has been a project in my department. We were fortunate enough to receive a grant from the state of Oregon for the Department of Land Conservation and Development for our housing needs analysis. This is a document that outlines both projects what our need will be for increased number of housing units in the city, but also includes a buildable lands inventory that kind of outlines what land is available in the city and how much land we can devote toward housing. This is important because we have urban growth boundary in the state of Oregon. All cities are constrained by that. And so it's important to know if what we have within our urban growth boundary is sufficient for our housing needs. But there's a process for this, for outlining, and as you can see in your packet, there's a document that outlines everything that is involved in that. We had some consultants who helped us with this project. One of them is with us tonight, Tim Wood, who can kind of give a brief overview of the purpose for the housing needs analysis, the process that they go through, and kind of point out some of the items you should consider when you're looking at whether to approve this and add it to our officially adopted documents. Tim?
Yeah, hi.
Uh-oh. Tim, I think we might have lost you. I love technology. We'll see if we get him back. But I can hopefully give a brief overview. So the document is in your packet. There are two parts of it. One, there is the main document, which is the housing needs analysis and buildable lands inventory. And then that has a number of policies that have been developed that would be added to our comprehensive plan as our housing policies that would be included in the comprehensive plan. And ultimately, the goal is for both of these to be adopted by ordinance and be official documents of the city. And these would guide our decisions moving forward for the next 20 years. Tim, are you back?
I am. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't
Okay.
know what happened there.
All right, I'll turn it back over to you again.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Blair, for the introduction. Really good, concise way to kind of give everybody a sense for what we're doing here. So with that, I'm going to try and share my screen here. So bear with me while I do that. Can you all see this, my screen? Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you now.
Oh, okay, great. And do you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Obviously having some issues over here. So we'll just start with the PowerPoint here and just dive into the agenda. So we've got just welcoming and giving you a sense for what the purpose of this project is. We'll review the housing needs projection, which will show you the demand that we project over the next 20 years. We'll review the buildable land inventory, which is an analysis of buildable land that's available for residential uses in the city. Reconciliation of residential supply and demand. So we'll look at that demand component versus the amount of land that you have to accommodate that demand. Quick review of the housing policy recommendations that we've made in this report, and then a quick review of our Chapter 4 residential lands and housing statement. So really broad overview here of the reason that Sweet Home and every city is doing this is it is required by state law, particularly ORS 197296. And what that requires is, as we've already discussed, the housing needs projection, or the measure of demand, the buildable land inventory, the measure of supply, residential land needs analysis, reconciling those two things, and then policy measures to accommodate needed housing. And we'll go over some affordability metrics as well, just to give you a sense for how things are looking in Sweet Home now, because those are newer requirements from the state. So we'll just bring you up to speed on that. So we'll start with the housing needs projection, which is driven largely by the population growth forecast provided by Portland State. And this is a required component of every housing needs analysis, to look at this particular population growth forecast and base our plans off of that. So you can see here that we're seeing steady growth in Sweet Home, which I'm sure is no surprise to anyone in the audience. So according to Portland State, between now and 20 years from now, we're looking at about 1,571 new people, net new. So that's total population growth over the next 20 years. And that's the population that we have to plan for in this HNA document. So the way that we tend to look at this is we see the population growth, and then we take a look at what's existing on the ground from your housing stock perspective, to kind of get a sense for what we expect future development to look like. And this graph here shows what's on the ground right now. That green portion of each one of these bars is owner-occupied dwellings, and the gray bar is renter-occupied. So you can see that most of your housing stock is in the single-family detached category. And then next would be manufactured homes, then multifamily, then townhomes and plexes. And you can see that most of the single family detached residential stock is owner occupied. Same with manufactured homes, about half owner occupied. And then you've got multifamily and townhomes being almost exclusively renter occupied, some rental houses among manufactured and single family detached as well. In total, right now, Sweet Home has about 4,107 units. And overall, we've got 70% of those units are in single family detached. So pretty good, pretty normal split among housing types. A major component of this calculation is average household size, because that helps us determine, among that 1,571 net new people, what is that breakdown going to be in terms of how many new households do we need to accommodate that population growth. So you can see here over there on the right, that's Sweet Home's average household size over the last 10 years. So some fluctuation there, starting a little lower, going up to as much as 2.7 people per household, and then more recently down to about 2.6 people per household. So, pretty consistent these days with the way that Lynn County looks, and a little above the state as well. So, a pretty healthy average household size, but not too high, not too low. It's a perfect number. With respect to affordability, one metric that the state is really quite eager for us to discuss with decision makers is severe rent burden. And that's a condition where rental households are spending 50% or more of their income to rent the unit. So you can see among City of Sweet Home, you've got a higher severe rent burden rental population than Lynn County in Oregon by a pretty, pretty significant stretch. 28% of your rental households experiencing severe rent burden. So, not surprisingly, that speaks to a need for probably more rental housing units in the next 20 years. So just something to think about as you consider policy options now and in the future with respect to housing. Another way that we tend to like to look at it is what's affordable to residents making, an average salary for particular positions. And so here on this slide, we look at just a handful of occupations and what they pay on average in the state. So you've got folks who are lawyers making about $128,000 a year, which is, obviously aspirational for most people. And they're having no problem affording, a mortgage, for instance, here in Sweet Home. They could probably afford about $655,000, which, that'd buy you a pretty good house almost anywhere in the state. As we start moving down towards folks who are in an engineering position, they're making 85 grand and their max mortgage is about $430,000. So we're probably getting to the edge of affordability for the average home in Sweet Home. Once we get down to teachers who are making $67,000 and medical assistants making $41,000, we're probably barely at a point where we can afford a home with a max mortgage of $340,000 for that teacher and $210,000 for the medical assistant. So at that point, we're probably looking at rents. So about $1,000 for rent for a medical assistant, and then a retail salesperson. So just an average person making retail wages, making about 33 grand, who were able to afford a rent of about $800. So, based on the data that we've looked at through this process, we're starting to get down there to the point where that's maybe going to be difficult for them to pull together. So it's just something that we like to make sure that decision makers are thinking about, just in terms of housing affordability and what's affordable to the folks who you need working in your community. And it's pretty tough sledding right now. As you can see here, Sweet Home has added, this is median home prices, right? So just the median home price throughout the city over the last 3-4 years now. So between March of 20 and March of 2022, we've seen about $100,000 in median home value increase. That being an annual change of about 19.4% over those years. I did look today to see the same statistic, and it's not changed much. It's gone up a little bit since March of 2022. So we're starting to see this phenomenon slow down, but it's not decreasing. So affordability is still the same issue that it was about a year ago. It's just that we've seen some stagnance in terms of median home value across the board throughout the state, really. So no surprise. And you can see here that, among the communities that are sort of around Sweet Home, this condition is pretty pervasive. So it's an issue for every community is what we're trying to say here. So the bottom line for the housing needs projection is the city's probably going to need to accommodate about 632 new dwelling units. And based on those housing type data that we saw earlier, we expect most of that to be in single family detached. As you can see here, we're expecting that to be about 460 units of that 632 in single family detached. And then a bit of a mix between townhomes, plexes, and multifamily, each seeing 42, 45, and then some manufactured homes, probably about 85 new manufactured homes, totaling that 632 figure. So yeah, it's a pretty big lift, and it'll be pretty significant to see this growth occur. So really quickly, going to dive into the buildable land inventory. I'll try to keep this pretty high level just because it's pretty, there are many layers that were used to determine this, and there's a lot of detail inside of the housing needs analysis, and I can field questions towards the end here if there are any. But what we're looking at here is our analysis indicating where vacant land is, and so we're seeing a fair amount throughout the city. And we'll take a look back at that once we take a look at constraining factors. So these are things that we are able to discount off. And so we'll give you some examples of those. We tend to remove public and semi-public lands, so things that are owned by the city, the county, the state, the federal government, that kind of thing. So you can see here all of these sort of turquoise colored parcels are out of the buildable land inventory based on that. We also remove parkland, so a handful of properties there. Open water obviously is not buildable, so we remove that. You can see that here in the blue. Floodplains are also removed, and those are usually pretty coterminous with open water, but you can see that there are some buffers, and so we can remove that land as well from the buildable land inventory. And then steep slopes, and that's slopes of greater than 25%. So you see that there's a handful around the city, quite a bit, towards the northeast, and then quite a bit towards the southwest there. And then finally, wetlands, we're able to remove those as well. So you can see those here in the green. And so final tally of buildable land here, and you can see that we're taking a pretty broad look, including commercial lands and industrial here. So this isn't to say that this is all going to develop as residential, but so you can see throughout this we have several opportunity sites throughout the city, and you can see also that we've removed a lot of the constraints, open water and constrained land as well. So the bottom line of the buildable land inventory will take all of that stuff into account to make sure that we're not overcounting or showing that the urban growth boundary has more buildable land than it really does. And so we're going to move now into the reconciliation component of the buildable land inventory and the housing needs projection. So just to reiterate what we need to plan for, we have 632 dwelling units that are needed in the next 20 years. Again, that mix is mostly single family detached with a smattering of other types. And so now we'll show kind of how we get from this to whether or not the urban growth boundary is sufficient to meet the need. And the way that we do that is through this table, and I know that it's complicated, so bear with me here. These numbers here towards the left, the 20-year dwelling unit demand, that's taken straight from the prior table. So we need those 632 units. Then we identify which lands are likely to be able to accommodate those units on them based on zoning. So, for single family detached, we're looking more at low density residential, your RR1, your RR 2.5, LDR in terms of the comp plan, manufactured homes and cottages, and townhomes and plexes, both kind of medium density. So we're looking at medium density residential there. And then among multifamily, we're looking at commercial lands that allow multifamily development and high density residential lands. So we're taking a pretty broad swath there. Over to the right of those columns, the allowable density, we're making some assumptions about the expected density of the development for each of those. So for instance, in single family detached, we expect about 1 to 5 dwellings per acre, manufactured homes and cottages, 3 to 10 units per acre, 6 to 10 for multifamily, townhomes and plexes, and then multifamily about 14 to 36. Finally, we take an average development density there in the next column over there to the right. So we expect about 4 units per acre for single family detached, 6.5 for manufactured homes, 9 units per acre for townhomes and plexes, and 18 units per acre for multifamily. And so over here to the right, we can see the net buildable land requirement for each of these. We've got 115 acres for single family detached, 13 for manufactured homes, 5 for townhomes and plexes, and 2 acres for multifamily. The state allows us to factor up to account for public uses like utilities or parks or schools. So we're allowed to basically factor that net buildable land need up by 25% to get to that final column there, where you can see that we need about 169 acres of developable land to accommodate these 632 units that we expect to see in the next 20 years. And to bring back the buildable land inventory really quickly, this is a table that shows pretty much every category that we can place buildable land or residential land into. So what you see here on the left-hand column is the zoning categories that we consider here. And then we remove the next column over the developed category. So right off the bat, we're removing about 1,649 acres because it's been developed. We see about 343 vacant acres in total, 350 part vacant, which means land that could potentially subdivide. And then we remove 83 constrained acres because of those constraints that we discussed really quickly to determine the total buildable acres in Sweet Home's urban growth boundary is about 610. So, you know, pretty significant amount of buildable land. But still, you can see that between buildable and total, you're kind of getting down there. So it's definitely something that the council and city staff should keep an eye on moving forward. So the way that we reconcile these two is to just look at the gross buildable land requirement that we discussed earlier, that 169 acres needed to meet the need over the next 20 years, and take a look at the current buildable land inventory, that's 610 buildable acres. And we also make sure that these lands are in the appropriate zones, right? So we want to make sure that high density land is meeting high density need and that we don't have a deficit in that category. And you can see here over on the far right of this table, we don't have a deficit in either category. The low to medium density and the high density, we've got a surplus for both of those. 356 acres among lower density and 85 acres among higher density for a total of 441 acres of surplus residential land. So that's the technical component of this. And at this time, I'll take questions on that because we're going to get into policy. So are there any questions about the technical findings of the report?
We have no questions.
Okay, great. So the next section here will discuss policy recommendations. So things that we've identified and recommended for your consideration moving forward for your housing chapter. So these are this is what you might discuss as well as you consider this document. So really quickly, I'm just going to go through these and please feel free to highlight any of them and we can discuss them. So first of all, I'll just read through these really quickly and we'll get through them. So this starts at 16 because you've already got 15 policies in your plan. So we'll start at 16, which is ensure the land use code includes clear and objective standards for housing development and does not have the effect of discouraging needed housing through unreasonable cost or delay or reducing the proposed housing density already allowed by zoning. 17 is create a marketing campaign that increases awareness and participation with the federal solar tax credit to provide homeowners and renters assistance in upgrading their homes to be more energy efficient. 18, conduct a fair housing audit of the city's development processes and development code. An audit would look at existing definitions, restrictions, standards that trigger conditional use permits, and disparate impacts of policies on protected classes. 19, identify areas of high priority for improving infrastructure to support new residential development, focusing on opportunities for new development in higher density zones, particularly in areas with vacant land zoned for housing. 20, plan for a 20-year supply of suitable land for Sweet Home to meet housing needs through regular monitoring and adjustments of available residential land. 21, streamline the permitting process to reduce cost and delay for new housing units. 22, promote the development of accessory dwelling units as a means to contribute to the overall housing stock and rental market. 23, identify publicly owned properties that could be used for affordable housing. 24, consider deferrals or waivers of SDCs for affordable housing developments. 25, monitor annually the number of total housing units regulated affordable units, multifamily units, regulated affordable multifamily units, and single family units, and regulated affordable single family units. Explore opportunities to remove undevelopable land from the buildable land inventory, including comprehensive plan amendments, rezoning, and land exchanges. And then really briefly, I want to go over the comprehensive plan chapter 4, residential lands and housing. So this is basically just text that would also be included. It's like a purpose statement for this particular component of code. So community goals include Sweet Home strives to establish residential areas that are safe, healthful, and attractive places to live, and that will provide a maximum range of residential choices for the people of Sweet Home. As an overview, through comprehensive planning, the City of Sweet Home can help guide the quantity, type, and affordability of its housing stock. Sweet Home recognizes the challenge of planning for a variety of housing options in both existing neighborhoods and new residential areas. How to achieve housing options that match and the changing demographics and lifestyle of our residents will continue to be one of the challenges facing the community. So that's it for my presentation. I am happy to take questions at this time, if there are any, about any of the things that we've talked about so far.
Any questions of counselors?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
So I just want to thank you for giving us these recommendations. I'm especially fond of waiving or deferring the SDCs for affordable housing. I'm also very excited about developing accessory dwelling units. I know that our Senator Cedric Hayden has tried to put forth the bill SB 1020, and I'm not quite sure why it hasn't gone anywhere in the Salem Capitol, but I think that if the City of Sweet Home maybe would implement some of those ideas and just have them available for our residents to try to do that, I think that would be great.
If there are no other questions of counselors, I'm going to open this up for public comment. Are there any comments from the public? Okay, I'm now closing this public hearing at 7:57.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Just to respond to a couple things that have come up, there is a provision within our current SDC ordinance that does allow for waivers for affordable housing. So when we get proposals, if we get proposals for that, we are certainly prepared to discuss that. And in addition, it's not something that we have marketed, but our recent code amendments that were put in place last fall do allow for accessory dwelling units. And it's of course dependent upon individual property and how much space there is, but that is an option for someone wanting to both increase the value of their existing parcel, their home, but also to add more housing to the city. As you can see from the numbers that were shared, one of the main takeaways from this is that we do have a lot of developable land. And that is something that we tell people as much as we possibly can, because we want developers to realize the opportunities that are here in Sweet Home. When we do these projections, there's a lot of state regulations on how these projections are done, and a lot of them are based on growth patterns over the past. I fully believe that Sweet Home is in a if you build it, they will come situation, because when we have had large housing developments come in, they have been filled extraordinarily fast. And so the message that I take from this is not only do we have an opportunity, but the demand is here also. And we want to house as many of those folks as we can and improve, because the more of the new housing that we bring in, the better it makes it improves our existing housing stock's quality. We do have significant portion of our housing stock that is older and could use some updating. And especially those that are renter occupied, there's not a lot of pressure on those property owners to improve their properties. And so the more additional rental housing you get, it pushes that places that pressure on those property owners to improve the quality of their rentals. And overall, the entire community benefits from that. So the steps now is if you are willing, or if this is if it pleases the council, the staff is asking for a first reading of this ordinance, which would adopt this housing needs analysis and also adopt the additional goals to the comprehensive plan. There would, of course, need to be 2 more readings. One thing that was pointed out earlier today is there were some questions about some of the numbers in the housing needs analysis. I communicated with Tim about it. It appears that the copy that we have in the packet is an older version that had inadvertently was included in there. We do have obviously 2 more readings that would be necessary, and so we would ensure that the most up-to-date correct version is included at the next reading, should you do the first reading tonight.
Madam Mayor, I have a couple quick comments. I know it's been almost that old document that you're referring to. That's been quite a few years ago. We actually had a public committee that came together on that housing thing. The second thing too that I'd like to comment is that when I look at the 632 housing unit over 20 years, I think that's a very conservative number based on especially what you're talking about. Depending on how the mill property is developed and what transpires with that, and also keeping in mind with what transpires with Troy Cummings' I call it all mill property too, but how that develops. If those develop the direction I think they probably will develop, that 632 is going to be blown out of the water pretty fast. So something to keep in mind.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, you may.
So I love the idea. Do you guys have and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, any sort of information on the impact that it would make to our wastewater treatment and whatnot if all of these were to go up right away, say?
Fortunately, we can't possibly put in all of that at once. I think Greg would agree that if we were to have 600 housing units hit our system at once, that would be a pretty severe problem. But obviously these would take time to build. And the plan for the plant is to accommodate this many and more.
Yeah, we've looked at population going through 2040, and we will hit that mark plus a little bit of growth with that plant. These numbers don't scare me as much as, but we have taken into consideration the population growth for 20, 25 years.
And Madam Mayor, if I may, we also should look at the financial positive impact of bringing in this number of houses, including being able to spread any type of rate increase amongst all of these housing units. So if we do get additional houses, we're looking at potentially additional property taxes, additional support for businesses. And in regards to our wastewater treatment plant, if we do have to have a rate increase, it could potentially be lower if we have more households.
So council, if there's no further discussion, I am available to receive a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve application LA 23-01 and conduct a first reading of ordinance number 9 for 20. Do we have a vote, please?
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman.
Yes, we have 7 ayes and no nays to conduct the first reading.
Apologies, that should be 2023.
We'll let it slide this time. So I'll entertain a motion to move this on to second reading at our next scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Julie, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
We have 7 ayes and no nays to move this on to second reading at our next scheduled meeting. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, public hearing, zone map amendment. I will open up this next public hearing for a zone map amendment at 8:07 p.m. Counselors, I need to know if you have any conflict of interest, bias, or ex parte communication. Starting with you, Counselor Gorley.
No.
Counselor Trask.
No.
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 Nope.
Moving on to staff report, please.
Okay. The applicant for this application is proposing to change the zoning map in an area consisting of approximately 190,211 square feet, 5.18 acres, located in Sweet Home, Oregon, 97386. The Sweet Home zoning map is proposed to change from the residential low-density R1 zone to the residential high-density R3 zone. Proposed zone change would bring the zoning designation into conformity with the property's existing comprehensive plan map designation. Planning Commission held a public hearing on this matter and recommended approval by the City Council. And this is now the City Council public hearing on the matter. There was an opportunity for public comment at the Planning Commission public hearing. The proposed zone, the subject property has a comprehensive plan designation of residential high density R3. And so that complies with what the proposal to change it from R1 to R3. And the uses in the proposed zone can be accommodated on the proposed site without exceeding its physical capacity. The allowed uses in the proposed zone can be established in compliance with the development requirements in the development code. There are adequate public facilities, services, and transportation networks in place, or they are planned that can be provided to concurrently with development of the property. And the criteria listed in the application for the proposed residential zone are compliant with our current policies. The applicant, I believe, is present tonight. Just give you a little bit of background from the Planning Commission. Apologies, I'm getting mixed around. Okay. So April 6th was when the Planning Commission public hearing was held. And so the question before you tonight is, should the zoning map be changed to allow high density residential activity on the property in question rather than the current low density residential designation? And should the comprehensive plan designations that are currently in place be followed to bring this property into conformance with it? Just in case you don't know from the application, the property in question is on Clark Mill Road, just south of Main Street. There's a large empty field on the west side of Clark Mill Road as you go south from Main Street. But that's, I can take any questions you might have, and then the applicant is also here tonight.
Any questions from counselors? Okay. Moving on, testimony from those in favor or support of the application. Do we have anybody that wants to come forward? Name and address for the record, please.
Mark Lund, 30900 South 5th Street, Lebanon.
Hi, Mark. And what testimony do you have for us tonight?
Going to be building apartments and a fitness center.
And
That's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. All right. Any questions? Can I have them ask questions?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Any questions from counselor to this developer? No, no questions of council. You're good to go. Any testimony from those in opposition to the application? Testimony from those neither in support or opposition? Okay, I'm closing this public hearing at 8:12 p.m. The question still stands of council. Should this application be approved? So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Julie, please roll call.
Counselor Richards,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Gorley.
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and no nays to approve this application. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, we have no ordinance.
There is an ordinance that would need to be read.
Oh, there is an ordinance in there. You were right. Please move forward with the ordinance. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to move this to second reading at our next scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Julie, can we please take a vote?
Counselor Gorley,
Yes.
Counselor Trask,
Yes.
Counselor Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Coleman,
Yes.
Pro Tem Mahler,
Yes.
Counselor Thorstad,
Yes.
Counselor Richards.
Yep.
We have 7 ayes and no nays to move it on to second reading at our next meeting. Moving on, there's no ordinance and bills for second reading or third reading, so reports of committee. Do the counselors have any reports from the committees they sit on?
to report on the Health Committee. To start off with, we are starting to prepare for the health fair this summer. And the other thing is that's kind of exciting is our Western University students are prepared to do a presentation in our next meeting on their survey. It took them a little while, but that's understandable. Everything seems to take us a while. And so we're really excited to see what they have come up to present. And we're not sure yet if that's going to be via Zoom or in person. So, and then the Arts Committee, we've had the opportunity to meet 3 times so far. And it is so refreshing to work with the energy and the people in that room. It really is. There is conversation about supporting businesses with them being able to paint their facades. There's a lot of energy around murals. Again, more energy about projects that will be coming forward to the council and discussing. It's just super wonderful and exciting to see what's going to happen in the next few months. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gourley. Councilor Trask, do you have anything to report?
Mayor, I just want to let you guys know, we have a full budget committee and a full parks board meeting, committee, which has not happened in a long time, especially for the budget. So we're going to be full this time. So hopefully I'll get here and we're in good shape.
Great. Any other reports from councilors regarding committees they serve on? Moving on to reports of city officials, city managers report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'll keep this fairly quick. I do want to remind everybody that we do have a budget committee meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. It's our first one. And hopefully everybody has, you all should have received the budget about a week ago. And so hopefully you've gotten a chance to look at it. If you haven't, please let us know. Or if you need any help with that, we'll also have printed out copies at the budget meeting tomorrow. I also sent you all an email regarding an urban renewal training for elected officials. If you're interested in that, please let us know and we can help you with that. It's a Zoom meeting, but we could also look at holding a group meeting and kind of discussing it. So take a look and let me know if you're interested. So we are, as FAC mentioned, we are working with the county on our ask to the state for resources for the homeless, and we are mostly looking at transitional housing for homeless children and for families. We are also looking at ways to reimburse some of the things that we've already been putting forward as the City of Sweet Home. So we are going to need to submit that ask in about 2 weeks. So I'll keep you all apprised of where we're going with that. We have had meetings almost every day regarding that, and we've been working with the county and all of the various agencies. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to keep everybody apprised. Our next council meeting, the one in early May at the second Tuesday, is going to be a workshop that is going to be looking at land use planning and the training. We'll also have the planning commission that needs to have that training there as well. But then it also can lead into a discussion. Because we do have some ordinances and some other items, we are going to have an expedited council meeting beforehand and then jump right into our workshop. So hope you all can be there. Wanted to give a quick announcement that there's going to be a volunteer fair at Sankey Park on June 3rd. So putting this out to the community, as well as you're talking with any committees and any other agencies, anybody who needs to have volunteers, please have a table there, and it's a great way to connect with the community. And anybody who is interested in providing support for the City of Sweet Home, there's going to be a lot of agencies there looking for volunteers, and it's a great opportunity to go see how you can help out and give back to the community. The city will have a table there, and there also will be some prizes and some other fun things. So stay tuned. We're going to be giving some more information on that soon. And then I also just want to thank all the community members that have been reaching out, have been asking questions. I want to remind everybody I have office hours every Thursday from 1 to 2:30. If those hours do not work for the community, feel free to give us a call and set an appointment. I'm more than happy to work with anyone in the community who has questions or concerns or ideas. And so far it's been really great. And I want to thank everybody who's been there. And then just thanks to everybody it's been a long past couple weeks, but I think we're getting a lot of really great work done. So looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Young. I also just have a very brief report. I just want to say, I don't know if counselors understand that we called that emergency meeting at the behest of Counselor Sanchez suggested it from the information she had received. And because we called that meeting and declared an emergency regarding homelessness, Lynn County then also declared an emergency, and Lynn County was then included in the possibility of receiving funds from the governor's funds. So I don't know if you guys saw that in your emails, but that's the meetings that City Manager Young is referring to. Once that was accepted, it's kind of spurred on a lot of meetings so that the city of Sweet Home could get included in some of those funds to cover the costs that we have expended on some of these things to help with our community, also to look to the future. So thank you to all who made that happen. I also want to send a quick shout out to Saniam Sound and Jen Castaneda and the others that showed up on Saturday for the community cleanup. They had 41 people that showed up to go collect trash, and they collected, I don't know, like 600 pounds of trash or something like that. It was really cool to participate in that for a brief moment. I want to also give a shout out to Counselor Richard's sister, Brooke Burke, who signed with Pacific College to play basketball there. So congratulations to her and her accomplishments and how she helped the Sweet Homes high school basketball team this last year. That's all I have to say. So moving on to the next report. Do we have any reports from directors that they would like to share? Any reports? I appreciate Finance Director Matt Wood being here tonight, and he has a Finance Department report included in our packet. You guys may want to review that. Anybody else want to share anything?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to have a question for the police chief.
Yes.
Years ago, the council had discussion about our dispatch. I don't know if you were part of that, the previous chief. Possibly taking in the all of dispatch within our department or the police department. Has that ever been entertained again? In other words, having all not only police, but also fire at our own dispatch.
We haven't talked about that, I think, since the last time it was.
Has there been any feedback from dispatch about staffing issues or any problems going to the county dispatch?
Our dispatch?
No, with the county dispatch in relation to this community here.
I haven't.
Okay. I'm not going to speak on behalf of our fire chief, but we still having communication issues with the county dispatch with our fire service. Okay. And that's what spurred that.
I see what you're getting at. So
The discussion years ago.
okay.
Okay. So we have that. But today I had a firsthand experience, was very concerning to me. I dialed 911 to call for an ambulance for a gentleman having a heart attack. Okay. The phone rang, and rang. Got no answer. 911. Okay. I then dialed it again. 911. No answer. Rang, and rang. That's concerning. Okay. A gentleman's having a heart attack. Okay. I'm like, what the heck? Okay. So I'm responding to the residents of this gentleman having a heart attack. And he did have a heart attack. Okay. The concerning part of that is it was at least 5 minutes after, or it was close to me, it seemed like it. I finally get a call back from dispatch. We noticed that you were calling into 911. Did you have an emergency? Really? That was the question back to me on a phone call back to me today. Yeah, I had an emergency. I need an ambulance to this certain residence. Okay. Of course, they went through their million questions. I was already arriving at the residence by the time they got done with the questions. And then he said, okay, we will now dispatch the ambulance. Fortunately, this gentleman wasn't in a full cardiac arrest. That's what's concerning to me is that transpired today. Okay. Then I go back to the fire service and we've had communication issues with them ongoing. And that's, I'm not speaking for the chief. I'm just saying it's from a fire department standpoint, dealing with our dispatch center. This is concerning for being out here rural where we're at. And that's why back years ago, we had that discussion about bringing our dispatch all, because we got excellent dispatchers. We got one of the best dispatch
I agree.
police departments around, and I'll toot that horn any day of the week. The bottom line is we had discussions about bringing all that internally because we think we can do a better job. We had it a long time ago, umpteen zillion years ago. We had all dispatch internally within this city. We contracted out, it left our community. And ever since that, in my opinion, I'm sorry, ever since it's done that, it has not been the greatest, especially from the fire service, medical service end of things. Years ago, we had that discussion back again to see if that was possible of bringing that back in to better our communication and our emergency services within our community. Just was kind of curious.
So I remember the conversation about providing a dispatch here because it seemed to be something that was like cost neutral at the time when we had the conversation. But to me, it would be bringing those family wage jobs to our community and that we could provide dispatch for other communities and contract that, creating more jobs here. And that is something we're always talking about, creating more jobs. We're not going to make a profit on this from what the conversation was before. But I have not had the problem you're discussing, but I do think that being able to talk to people here and not going out is to our best interest. And then especially if we can be the employer and having those jobs here.
Also, part of one of the discussions was the repeaters and and what is affecting some of our communications. Into defense of the dispatch center, it's the repeaters and the technology we have out here. So if you leave Sweet Home and we head just to Foster Lake and we start even going any farther beyond that, we might as well say goodbye to Central Dispatch. It's done. We cannot communicate with dispatch at all. So we just might as well send smoke signals and have a nice day. Because when you leave Sweet Home and you head that way, it's done. I can tell you that firsthand. We have no communication. So we go up to Cascadia, anywhere up there, we're having hopeful phone conversations or we're relaying from point A to B to C to D to E to finally get it to dispatch so that we can take care of whatever needs we need. So there is a communication breakdowns, not so much blaming Central Dispatch on everything, but again, coming back to maybe having entertaining discussions about our dispatch and what we do for the future to enhance and improve our emergency services, our community.
Yeah, I remember when I started here, we did do ambulance, and I do not remember why that went away. I wasn't in on that discussion.
It was a money issue.
Oh,
It was all about money.
Hmm.
But I think we need to, personally, I think we need to revisit that.
Yeah.
Any other questions from counselors to directors or?
Would that require a request for cost analysis to revisit that? Because
Yeah.
the number's going to have changed.
Yes, it would need to be reevaluation of cost analysis for sure, and just kind of evaluate the whole process again, because it's been a few years. So, but it's something I think we need to look at. I think we need to address that because times have changed, and we need to improve our services out here at the East Lynn County end of things, because we are isolated, and we have situations where we're not supporting our folks out here to the level we need to. And don't take it wrong, I'm not blaming the Central Dispatch because if they can't hear us, they can't hear us. So there's some things that we need to evaluate and how we can improve that whole process. If it means bringing it internally to us, that's something we need to look at.
moving on for the council business for the good of the order.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I also just want to say thank you for what you guys did with the incident that happened and how you worked really hard to neutralize the situation. So thank you for all that you did. I also want to remind people that today's the last day to register to vote. There's special elections coming in. The ballots should be dropping tomorrow, and you can turn them in right here at City Hall.
Thank you. Any other business for the good of the order? No. I'll close this meeting at 8:32 p.m.